afternoon. Welcome back from lunch. This is a review of the lesson plan for TED 621A. My name is Sarah Straight. And I'm going to be touching base on my lesson plan that I developed called The Adventures in Reading. Ready, begin. Hi guys, welcome back to class. Today we're going to be touching base. I need you guys to calm down a little bit. Today we're going to be touching base on some new adventures, and I know everybody likes adventures, right? Okay. Tell me about an adventure that you had, Joe. Could be with your friends, or do you remember what an adventure is? An adventure. Okay? Right, that's going to be a journey or a trip or some kind of place that you went to. Right, good job. Okay, so a journey, you could take an adventure into the woods and you guys could go looking for moose, or you could take an adventure with your friends and you could, you know, go ride your bikes and pretend that you're in another country. So we're going to be going over adventures and reading. You guys remember we just finished reading our long story together. This is going to be a little bit different plan, okay? So with this, we're going to be dividing you guys into two different groups, and I'm going to go over this in a little bit. But what we're going to do together is we're actually going to read this book and we're going to discuss it, and I have two stories prepared for you guys. Okay? Some of you guys are going to be doing Treasure Island adventures, and some of you guys are going to be doing the Huckleberry Finn adventures. And these are both stories about young people. There's two young boys in this story, okay? We have Jim Hawkins, okay? Jim Hawkins is the boy in Treasure Island, and how many of you guys have watched pirate movies before? Pirates of the Caribbean, or anything where you go sailing. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about with Jim Hawkins. He's going to go on an adventure with pirates. And then on the other side, we have Huck Finn, or Huckleberry Finn. Huck Finn is our other young boy who's going to take an adventure, and he is going to meet a slave. And you guys remember from what we covered before, slavery here in the United States was abolished with Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War, right? Does everybody remember slavery from what we talked about before? Okay. Can anybody tell me what slavery was? All right, good job, Annabelle. So Huck Finn is actually going to take an adventure with a slave, and that book was written prior to the abolishment of slavery. Remember, abolishment or abolish. Okay, abolish, to end, right? To end, okay? So with Huck Finn, he's going to go on his travels with a slave, and they're going to go in a canoe down a river, okay? and he's gonna run into a lot of adventures too. So there's some history in some of these lessons, okay? And you'll find that that's gonna be anywhere you guys go, you're gonna find some history. So we'll talk more about that. But we're gonna have 2 stories here for you guys, and I'm gonna split you guys up into 2 different groups. And our goal for this adventure is I want you guys in your groups, you're gonna be in small groups, you guys are gonna read through a chapter, okay? And these chapters, you guys are gonna take turns reading out loud, okay? So you're gonna read through chapters with your group, all right? And we're gonna do it out loud, taking turns in your circle. And you guys are going to actually get to discuss the story and develop a project at the very end. But we're also going to talk a lot about the vocabulary words. So you guys are going to keep a journal. Okay? You're going to look for vocabulary words and you're going to keep a journal of your adventures. So everybody, I brought you guys all a journal, okay? And some of the other things you guys are going to get is you're all going to get a dictionary and a thesaurus, all right? Dictionary and thesaurus. Can you tell me what the dictionary is used for? We've used this before in this class, okay? Does everybody remember what the dictionary is used for? Let me call on one person. And remember, we've got these dollars here for the raffle, so Lexi. Dictionary has different meanings in it. That's correct, okay? So in the dictionary, we can look up a word, and they go in alphabetical order, which means they start at the A. For you guys who are just remembering this, start at the beginning with the A's, and then they end in the Z's, okay? So if we want to look up vocabulary, we're going to move towards the back, and we're going to look up the word in an alphabetical order. And then that'll actually tell us the meaning of the word. So we're going to look up words. Okay, you guys can also use the computer lab to look up words if you guys want. Or your thesaurus. And does everybody remember what the thesaurus is? Okay? Because you guys are going to be using this a lot for your research papers later too. Thesaurus. Okay? Let's call on somebody. I will call on Joseph. Remember what a thesaurus is, Joseph? Okay, good. That's correct. So thesaurus has other words that are similar in meaning. Okay, other words that are similar in meaning. So for one of the words you guys are going to, especially with the Treasure Island group, one of the words that you guys are going to hear about is called mutiny. Mutiny. So in your journals, when you guys are going through and you're reading chapters, we're going to actually have an adventure journal, and you guys are going to write down your new words that you guys have explored and you guys have found. The journal, the word mutiny, right? We look in our dictionary and we can look it up, and it means open rebellion against authority. Open rebellion against authority. So for example, when you guys tell your moms, no, I am not cleaning my room, and you really mean it and you don't do it, that's mutiny. You are rising up against authority and you are saying, no, I'm not going to do it. Okay? Is this always right? No. So I'm not encouraging it. I'm just kind of going over the definition, right? And other words in this thesaurus that mean the same thing are to revolt or to rebel. Many of you guys will know this one before. You've heard this before. It's called disobey. right? When you disobey your parents. You're in mutiny. You're acting against their authority, okay? Or you defy them, okay? You can also do that here on school when you are not riding the bus properly, right? When you don't ride the bus properly and you're not listening to the bus driver, you guys are mutinying against the bus driver, okay? And we'll hear about Jim Hawkins in Treasure Island, who finds a treasure map and meets a sailor named Long John Silver, and Long John Silver is actually going to create a mutiny on the ship, okay? So we'll get into these stories more in a little bit, but what I want to do first is just explain the lesson to you and talk about our adventures. We're going to keep adventure journals, and we're going to read through the chapters of these really fun books with our group. We're going to read them out loud in circle, okay? So you guys are each going to be divided into a group, and you guys are going to have time to go through each chapter. We'll do one chapter a day, which I think you guys can do. All these chapters, all these books here, also have some pictures just to keep you guys on track. Okay, so you can kind of understand a little bit about what is happening. And once again, you guys are going to be doing this together. So with each of these chapters, you guys are going to be finding words that you don't know. Okay, and that's our vocabulary. We're going to be learning new vocabulary. And then at the end of the day, you guys are going to go through in your journal, and while you're reading, you're going to write down the vocabulary words that you don't know. You're going to look those up in your dictionary or your thesaurus, okay? And then you're also going to write a reflection, okay? Does anybody remember what reflection is? Okay, we're going to, in our journal, we're going to have reflecting. Reflection, how about Annabelle? Annabelle, we were talking about this the other day when you and I were sitting together. Do you remember what reflection is? Remember how we talked about a mirror, looking into a mirror? Right, right. You're going to look back and you're going to think about what you saw. When you look into a reflection in the water, you're kind of looking at yourself. And we're going to reflect back on these stories and what we read through the chapter, and we're going to write notes about it. And we're going to figure out how we felt about it and where these adventures took us. And, you know, was Jim in the right, or were Huck Finn in the wrong when they were doing these different things that they were doing? So I want you guys to create some ideas. And we'll go over those reflection journals a little bit more too. But anybody have any questions about what we're going to be doing in our groups? Okay? Any questions? I need somebody to ask a question. All right, I need somebody to ask one question. Okay, Josh. Thank you for raising your hand. Yes, I'm going to give you guys the books. I'm going to give you guys the thesaurus, the dictionary, and the journal. Here's this. Here you go, Josh. Thanks very much. And Josie, yes, I'm going to assign you guys to groups. Okay? So I'm going to put you guys in groups. Okay? Good question. All right. So we have two books. Okay? We'll go over these books again. And you guys are going to be in different groups. We're going to be reading out loud in our groups. We're going to be going through vocabulary, new words, right? And then we're going to be journaling. We're going to be reflecting. We're going to be thinking about what we just read, and we're going to write it down. We're going to keep this journal, and you guys are going to turn it in at the very end, okay? The other really neat thing we're going to do at the very end is you guys are going to actually come up and you guys are going to do a presentation on your story, and you're going to tell us about your adventure. Okay, so you guys want to start thinking about this. It's going to take us a couple weeks to read through the books, so you don't have to think about your stories now. Okay, so later on, we're going to do presenting our story. Okay? But that's not going to be yet. So everybody, I don't want you to get nervous quite yet. Okay? Going to be assigned to 1 or 2 groups, and then you guys are going to share about your own stories and your own adventures. And some people take adventures on walks, and some people take adventures on boats, and some people like to travel by plane. So there's lots of different ways, and so you're going to talk about all the different types of adventures that your characters take. All right, any questions about what we're going to be doing in class? Okay, all right. I want to take a minute to review some different vocabulary words that we've been learning about. Okay. And when you read stories, there's 2 different types of stories that we can go over, right? 2 different types of stories that we've been learning about. We've been learning about narrative stories, right? And we've been learning about we've been learning about narrative stories, and we've been learning about expository stories. Okay? Expository. Does anybody remember, okay, here's our chart. Does anybody remember the difference between the 2? Okay? Narrative, you guys are going to hear that word a lot. Okay? And expository. Who remembers the difference between the 2? Anne, can you tell me one thing about one of these stories? Right, one is true and one is fake. Okay, do you remember which one is true and which one is fake? Okay, good. This one is a true story, and this one is a fake story. Now, fake stories can have real human beings, and they don't have to just have aliens and those kind of things, but they're not based on a specific person, okay? Another word we remember that we learned about was fiction, okay? Remember fiction and fake, okay? And nonfiction, right? Nonfiction, not fake, okay? So we've got fiction stories, are our narrative stories, and expository stories are usually our true stories. Now remember, our expository stories, they're trying to tell us something. So when we were reading about, in our history books, we were reading about the Civil War. Okay, these are expository articles and different types of readings about different things that happened in the war. Okay, with the books that we're going to be reading today and for the next couple weeks, these are fun stories. They're narrative stories. They might have some real things in them, like with Huck Finn, it's talking about slavery and the South and what was happening during that time. Okay, but they're to entertain us or to give us a perspective of something, a thought on something. Okay, and they are fake and they're fiction. Okay, so these are going to be narrative stories. So we're going to be having fun reading about different things and different adventures. All right, okay, so I wanted to go over those terms, okay? Remember that both of these types of stories have the same kind of ideas, okay? We've got plots, okay? The plot. We've got our characters. We have settings. Okay? Characters, plots, and settings. Can anybody, these are things that you guys are going to be putting into your journals, okay? I want you guys to review in each reflection. So this will be included in reflection. I'm going to want you guys to talk about the plot of that chapter, the characters of that chapter, and the settings of that chapter. Okay? So let's review first plot. Joe, remind me what we were talking about with plot. Do you remember what plot is? Plot is kind of like the conflict, kind of what's going on, what's the main idea, right? Main idea. Okay? What are the battles? Yes, we can remember talking about battles. What are the conflicts? What is the story trying to tell us? Right. So when we talk about us going to the store, our main idea was what our adventure to the store, what happened at the store, okay? The main idea, the biggest part, the biggest point. Characters, let's review characters real quick. Annabelle, you remember talking about characters? Okay, can you tell me what a character is? Right, it's the person or the people in the story, okay? Person or the people in the story, okay? And then our settings. Settings are where the story takes place. You guys remember that? Where the story takes place. So in your journals, when your reflection, you guys are going to have a couple different things. You're going to put down your plot, the plot for that chapter, the characters, and the settings, okay? And I'm going to keep these things hung up on this wall over here so you guys can remember. We're going to talk about the plot, the characters, and the settings, okay? Then I'm going to want your thoughts on it, personal thoughts on the book or that chapter, and we're also going to have our vocabulary words. Okay? At the end, with the vocabulary words, we're going to have some vocabulary bingo, so we'll get into that a little bit more too, but remember you're going to be looking for words that you don't know. You guys are going to need to find 10 words in each chapter. Okay? 10 words in each chapter that you don't know. And we're going to talk about the plot, and the character, and the settings. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. All right, and today, we're not going to get into reading the whole book today. Okay, today I'm just going to assign you guys to your small groups. And like I said, you're going to be reading one of 2 books. Huck Finn goes on a trip with a slave in a canoe and a raft that he makes. Okay? Or you're going to be going with Jim Hawkins in Treasure Island on a ship with Long John Silver. So you're going to have 2 different adventures that are both taking place on the water with young boys that are gonna be going on adventures, okay? Any questions on that? You're gonna get assigned to one of these groups. You guys are gonna start today. Today, we're not gonna do a journal on chapter 1 today. What I'm gonna have you guys do today is I'm gonna have you open up, and inside the books, if you open to the very first page, in your small groups, it looks like somebody left their notes in here from last year. All right. The very first chapter, you're gonna see all the chapters laid out, okay? And then right after that, you guys are gonna see an overview of the characters. So I'm gonna want you guys to read through the characters with your small groups, okay? Remember characters, the person or the people that are in the book. And we're gonna talk about the different characters. And I'm gonna want you guys to read through that with your small group, okay? And I want you to write today in your journal that this is a narrative story. I want you to remember what narrative story is, okay? Fake or fiction. I want you guys today to write down your prediction about the story. Okay? Based on the characters, and you guys can scan through and look at the pictures, I want you to make a prediction about what's going to happen in your story. Prediction. Okay, does everybody remember prediction? Right, thinking about the future, or making a guess. Making a guess. Sometimes we make predictions based on things that we know happen normally, right? I predict that the bus is going to come at 2:30. Okay? That's my prediction. I predict that the gas is good. I predict that the bus will come at 2:30 p.m. and take me home, right? That's a prediction. I predict or I guess, okay? You can also remember, we can also fill in the word guess here, okay? I predict that the bus will come at 2:30, or I guess that the bus will come at 2:30, okay? And we can make those predictions because we know that every day the bus comes and picks us up. Somebody else make a prediction about what they're going to do this afternoon when they get home from school. Let's call on Alexis. Alexis, can you tell me a prediction about something that's going to happen today when you get home? And it doesn't always have to be right. Remember, predictions aren't always right. It's just our guess. Tell me about your prediction. When you get home, you predict you're going to have dinner. That's good. That's good. Why do you predict that? Why are you guessing that? Because you guys always have dinner. Okay, that sounds good. Can you make a prediction about what you're going to eat tonight? You think there's going to be vegetables? Okay, because your dad always makes you eat vegetables. Okay, sounds good. All right, let's call on one more person. Annabelle, do you remember what we talked about with predictions? Did we go over this when you were doing your reflective journal? Okay, predictions. Can you make a prediction about something that's going to happen when you leave school? You predict your mom's going to pick you up. You're guessing your mom's going to pick you up. And why do you predict that? Because your mom always comes and picks you up. You don't take the bus, huh? Okay, so you predict that your mom will pick her up. So Annabelle predicts that her mom's going to pick her up. Okay, so that's making a guess. Okay, so in your journals today, you guys are going to write your prediction on the story and whether you think it's narrative, what reminder I guys want you to write the vocabulary word narrative and its definition, okay? And I want you guys to review the characters in the story, okay? So you guys are going to review the characters. I'm going to assign you to your small groups. You guys are going to be handed out your journals, your thesaurus, your dictionary, and your story, okay? Your homework today is I want you to read either by yourself or with your parents. I want you guys to read. So you guys, I want you to write this down in your homework journal. Your homework today is I want you to read chapter 1. Okay, I want you to read chapter 1. Okay, and then tomorrow what's going to happen is you guys are going to come into your small groups and you guys are going to read it together. But if you guys read it before, then it's going to be a lot easier to go through in your small group. Okay, so we're going to be reading and reading and reading, and we're going to be practicing for our big test. Because you guys remember that at the end of the year, you guys need to take your STAR tests, your standardized tests. Okay, so we need to practice our reading at home by ourselves, and then we need to practice our reading in our groups. And I want you to start talking about some of those vocabulary words with your parents. Okay? You guys remember what vocabulary words are, right? We're going to be talking about our adventure, and maybe your parents have read this book before. I want you to remember what vocabulary we've covered in the chapter. And then when you guys come in tomorrow, you guys are going to be sitting with your small groups. You're going to read chapter 1 again. And you guys are going to talk about the chapter. You guys are going to talk about what happened in the chapter and his adventure. And maybe if you guys have had adventures like that. Okay? And then you're going to write in your journal, and you're going to look back and you're going to write down what happened in the story. Okay? Any questions about what's going on? I'm going to keep some of these notes up on the board back here so you guys can stay on track. And we're going to be reading this book for the next couple weeks, and then you guys are going to make a final presentation on this project. And you're going to tell us all about your story, okay? And you guys can use computers to show us about your story, or you can use the Blackboard, or you can use however you want, pictures, okay, to talk about your story. Okay, so I want you guys to start thinking about how you're going to present your adventure. Any questions? One question. I need one question. Caitlin. Yes, you do need to read chapter 1. I will check it with you guys tomorrow to make sure you guys have read chapter 1. Okay? We'll have a review before you guys start. So you do need to read chapter 1 for homework. Yes, we do have homework. Okay? Any questions? Any other questions? All right. Okay, I'm going to hand out your cards now and tell you which group you guys are in. Okay, and on your cards here, there's going to be a number. Okay, and with that, you guys are going to get into your small groups. Okay, we're going to set group 1 up over here, group 2, you guys are going to meet over there, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, you're either going to be group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Okay, so your card will have a number. Any questions? All right.